to Man, and today we are going to be covering another part of my Gaia project build in Minecraft. Actually, today we're going to be working on the space board, made up of the space tiles. So here it is in all of its glory. So one of the challenges with building this was, obviously, there's no hexagons in Minecraft. Everything is a square. And obviously I could make a hexagon if I really tried, but they would have to be huge, and I don't really want to have this thing be huge. It actually turned out to be the perfect size. I wasn't really planning on that, but that's good. So, um, what I ended up doing was I just wanted to find a tileable shape that would fit together in the same way that hexagons do. And after a while, the shape I ended up coming up with was this. So it doesn't look like much, and it certainly doesn't look like a hexagon, but it tiles together the same way. You can see if we put another one down here, boom, that fits together, and then we can put a third one right here, and then you can just keep tiling it the same way. So put another one here, and then you have sort of a square of them. The downside of this is because I made them so small, it's a bit offset, so you can notice it doesn't look like a rectangle, it's more of a rhombus parallelogram shape. But it's not too much. In fact, in the final shape, you can see here, it definitely is a bit slanted, but it's still completely playable. And if you don't look at it like this, you instead look at it like this, it still lines up pretty well. Another thing I ended up doing is because I used black for these space tiles, so there was a lot of that on the board, as you might be able to tell. So I actually ended up hollowing out the insides of the space tiles. This was because if I had simply made all of the black space tiles fully black, it wouldn't look like individual hexagons. It would look like a completely black board with just some planets in some spaces. So it's a little bit hard to tell still, but you can just look for the gap in each one, and you can say, okay, well, there's a 2 gap, so this is one hexagon, like that. And then I hollowed out the planets as well because you can place your structures inside when you're building them. And then I placed lapis lazuli blocks underneath all of the pressure plates because I didn't like the way it looked on the grass. It looked completely like this, just like a bunch of tests and stuff. So what I placed the lapis lazuli block to give it that spacey vibe, that deep blue color, but I didn't want it to be too dark or it would like sort of blend in with the black pressure plates. And I think that turned out pretty well. It's a very bold block, and it fits nicely, but it doesn't blend in with the grass, so that's nice. Then in these chests, I have all the tokens that you're going to need to use on the board. For example, something you do a lot is you start a Gaia project. So I have that planet type here, like orange, red, and then I have the purple one. But when you finish a Gaia project, you need to put a Gaia planet token on it so it looks like a Gaia planet. So I have the Gaia planet tokens, and I ended up using emerald blocks for these. So whenever you convert one of these to a Gaia planet, you can place this down here, and you'll know that it's a Gaia planet, and it has been Gaia formed. Then I have the record tokens, which you use when you have a federation, but all your structures are touching to each other, so you didn't end up using satellites. So you can place this in the space sector surrounding them to show that it is indeed a federation. For example, let's say we have this structure configuration. So this is the Planetary Institute, and this is the trading stations. Obviously this has been Gaia formed. So you can see that these planets are all touching each other. However, it has a power value of 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So if you made this into a federation, you wouldn't need saddles. So you would take one of your record tokens and place it in a space sector, touching it so that you could indicate that it is a Federation. Next, I have all of the Federation tokens. I know these aren't necessarily correlated to the spaceport, but I didn't really know of a better place to put them. I realized that when you have a block item, it's a hexagon, just like a Federation token in the actual game. So I emulated those with big blocks. So for the 12 VP one, which is completely gray, I used a heavy core. And that's the 12 VP one. Then the other ones are gray and green. So to indicate that, I used mossy cobblestone, which is both. And then I have all of the subsequent Federation tokens, and you can choose from there once you gain a Federation token. And then obviously there is the Glean's Federation token, which has a whole bunch of resources. And again, I used the mossy cobblestone, and that goes in level 5 of the terraforming research column. Finally, I have the space stations for the Ivets Federation. Now, when the Ivets build, they're only allowed to have one Federation the entire game. However, they can keep adding to that Federation, and every time they add another 7 power, they can get another Federation token. Now, when they have used up all the planets nearby, since they all have to touch the original Federation, it can get very costly to keep using up your satellites, and you only have 25. So the Ivets have space stations. They only get 6 of them, but what they can do is, say they have used all of these planets up, and next they want to connect to these 2 planets. So they place it down in an empty space tile. That is sort of a structure. It has a power value of 1, and it can contribute towards the power value of a Federation, but it cannot upgrade it. Also, it serves as a starting point for their navigation ability. So say they can build 2 away. So that's 1, 2. They can build on this yellow planet, even though they might not have been able to before, because this is 1, 2, 3. So that's the space stations. And so now for the layout. This might seem like a random distribution of the planets, but I actually used the starting layout from the actual Gaia project rulebook for when you're just learning to play the game. I thought this was a pretty good way to do it now. I did think about maybe having each individual space sector tile broken up. And then I could have a dispenser system like the advanced tech tiles to figure out how to arrange them. And then I could have a command block paste them. But the problem with that is that you have to clone a square area, and obviously the individual space sector tiles are hexagons, so they would delete each other when they were pasted in. But that is the Gaia project spaceboard in the Gaia project in Minecraft build. This was super fun to build. Thank you guys for watching. Make sure to subscribe, like, and comment down below, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace!